Hello, everyone. This is Luis Concepcion from Strategic Profit Line Trading, coming to you with the plan of the week for week number 31. As always, here's our disclosures. This content is for educational purposes only. I'm not providing any investment advice. It's not tailored to any one individual. Past performance does not guarantee future results, and all investments involve risks, including the loss of your principal. Here's our agenda for the week. I'll cover the indices as always. I'll provide a quick market overview, provide some news, and earnings season is in effect with the big boys reporting earnings, Apple, Amazon, Meta, and we have 1,000 companies reporting earnings, over 1,000 companies reporting earnings this week. Here's our results for week 30. This is our first losing week this year. Stocks went 0-4, options 1 and 2, no entry 17. And we had six companies closing our zones on Friday. That was General Electric, AT&T, Chipotle, Las Vegas Sands, and Waste Management. Here's what the outlook looks like for week 31. Again, we got a lot of companies reporting earnings, so there should be a lot of opportunity this week. I went ahead and highlighted about a little bit over 20 companies, so should be able to get some action this week. I went ahead and updated what happened this week with the losses we took on our 4 shorts. If you went ahead and got in or out, we're 45 and 37 on the year in stocks. And here's our outlook on options where we are 88 and 23. Moving into our news for the week, as you can see on Monday, it's going to be a quiet day. No news affecting us. For those of you trading the euro, just understand you have it'll be impacted all day. Moving on to Tuesday, no news early on in the night hours. However, at 7 o'clock, 30 minutes after the open, we have consumer confidence in our jobs report. So expect some volatility 30 minutes into the open. And then nothing else throughout the day outside of the Forex and futures market being affected. For those of you trading the Australian dollar, understand starting at 6:30 p.m. after the market close, you're going to have some issues. And volatility increases. And as you can see, the Japanese yen will have this a lot of reports being tentative. So be cognizant of that for those of you trading the Australian dollar and the Japanese yen. Moving on to Wednesday, as you can see earlier at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can see the euros being affected. Pre-market, we got a non-farm payroll employment change for the US dollar. So that goes hand in hand with the euro. Canadian dollar also being affected as they got their GDP in the morning. We got employment cost index that'll cause some volatility at the open, even though this is happening in our pre-market. And then we have pending home sales 30 minutes after the market. So we should have some nice volatility on Wednesday, in addition to the FOMC statement with the Fed funds rate at 11 o'clock midday. So be cognizant of Wednesday being our most volatile day. And there is no news on Thursday, and that's mainly because Apple and Amazon are reporting earnings. So that's going to be our volatility on Thursday. After hours, you can see the British pound is being affected. For those of you trading futures and Forex, be cognizant of that. Thursday morning, you can see we got unemployment claims. Manufacturing report at 7. Then lastly, on Friday, we got non-farm employment change because it is the first Friday of the month. So be mindful of that. And we have hourly earnings pre-market. That's going to do it for the news this week. Moving into our chart, starting with the SPX. As you can see, we had a nice down week last week. Had a nice 5% drawdown. We missed our zone by a couple. That zone is still in effect. That zone is 53.74 to 53.25. We might stay idle all week until Meta, Amazon, and Apple report earnings. So be mindful of this range here between this gap and this zone that we have. Again, that's the demand zone I have for you is 53.74 to 53.25. And on the supply side, we got 56.42 to 56.75. Moving on to the NASDAQ was weaker than the S&P 500 this week. As you can see, the S&P had about a 5% drawdown. However, the NASDAQ had a nice 9% drawdown, closing this gap and hitting our zone to the tick. That level is 18,721 to 18,511 on this the demand side. And on the supply side, we got 23 70 to 25.92. Moving on to the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones, as you can see, is stronger, not having as much of a pullback as the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. I have no levels for you that are close by for my aggressive traders. You can go ahead and I'm going to mark this zone for you right here. That's going to be 394.18 to 389 even. And the subsequent zone to 376 to 370. There's a possibility McDonald's has a large impact and earnings tomorrow. It might affect the Dow Jones, so be mindful of that. No supply in the Dow for right now. With that being said, let's move on to the mighty rut. So as you can see, the Dow Jones in the rut, that's where money is changing to out of tech and out of S&P 500 into small caps. This level still holding for us. We got the 21.95 to 22.90 on the supply side. In the event of an overshoot, this level has been working nicely. We have the 23.88 to 24.21. So expect some sideways movement this week as well. With that being said, on the demand side, we still have the 18.87 to 18.47. Moving into earnings for the week, starting with Monday, we got McDonald's. So on the demand side for McDonald's, I have 241.02. Just make that 241 even to 230.32. And on the supply side, we got 277.98 to 285.37. Be mindful that McDonald's reports pre-market tomorrow morning. Next company I have for you is Bank of Marine. So this is for those of you who want to trade those cheaper stocks. On the demand side, we got 1660 to 1588, and on the supply side, we got 3076 to 3209. Next company I have for you, AMG. So on the supply side, 185 to 191.90, and on the demand side, 138.06 to 134.42. Next company, FFIV. On the demand side, 132.62 to 116.15, and on the supply side, 208.67 to 217.40. Moving on to Tuesday morning, I have Pfizer. Pfizer on the demand side, 24.45 to 23.36, and on the supply side, 33.54 to 34.67. Next company is Merck. So for Merck, as you can see, all-time highs was 134.63. I have no supply for you. On the demand side, I got 109.26 to 106.79. Next company is AMD. As you can see, these were the two levels that held for us already. This level, I'm going to call it gone. And the next level I have for you on AMD is 124.93 to 114.88. In the event of an overshoot, you got 100. Let's call it 100 even and 93.19. This supply zone has already worked and held, and you have the 174.70 to 187.43. Moving on to Microsoft. On the demand side, we got 397.94 to 394.14, and on the supply side, 461.04 to 468.81. Next company I have for you is Starbucks. For Starbucks, on the demand side, 66.24 to 60.71, and on the supply side, 105.45 to 108.14. Next company I have for you is ANET. No supply for you on ANET, as the all-time high was 376.50, but on the demand side, we got 223.45 to 203.32. Next company I have for you is First Solar. So a lot of supply and a lot of demand in the same regions. I'm going to call this the 197 all the way down to 162. We have three levels on top of each other. And on the supply side, 232 to 268. On the supply side, three levels on top of each other. And that's going to do it for First Solar. Moving on to Wednesday, Boeing. So Boeing on the demand side, 166.71 to 159.37, and on the supply side, 197.18 to 203.93. In the event of an overshoot here on Boeing, we got another level here at 148.14 to 138.91. Next company I have for you, Norwegian Cruise Lines on the demand side, 16.29 to 15.49, and on the supply side, 21.34 to 22.25. Next company I have for you is Kraft Heinz. So on the demand side, 30.87 to 27.91, and on the supply side, 38.56 to 39.39. Next company I have for you is Humana. On the demand side, 301.78 to 285.22, and on the supply side, 447.61 to 474.52. Next company is MasterCard. As you can see, this level has worked numerous times. So this is an aggressive level for my aggressive traders. That's 430.78 to 425.15. For those of you who are more conservative, we got the even 458 to 394.78 on the demand side. On the supply side, we got 474.25 to 483.44. Next company I have for you is Paycom. So on the demand side, we got 106.02 to 97.09, and on the supply side, 236.23 to 247.73. Moving on to Thursday, Crocs. So for Crocs on the demand side, we got 109.63 to 104.77. Next company I have for you is Wayfair. On the demand side, 33.17 to 29.39, 74.08 to 78.68. Next company I have for you is Toyota. Toyota is in a demand zone. This level has been holding for quite some time. That level is 193.73 to 177.73. And on the supply side, we got 250.25 to 255.88. Next company I have for you is Square. It is in a demand zone at 60.12 to 57.29. In the event of an overshoot, you have the 52.18 to 48.27. And I have no supply for you right now on Square. Moving on to Friday, ExxonMobil. On the demand side, 105.77 to 102.71. And on the supply side, 117.78 to 123.84. Last company I have for you this week is Chevron. On the supply side, 167.27 to 170.17, and 142.83 to 139.57. Once again, be mindful that on Wednesday, Meta is reporting earnings, and so on Thursday, Amazon and Apple are reporting earnings. If that's something you were interested in receiving the information, go to my website so you can get a copy of the Mag 7 weekly zones. With that being said, here is my contact information. Feel free to follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on social media to see trades that I post on during the week. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like button. Feel free to go to the website for upcoming classes and courses that I have. And until next time, happy trading.